Think about the last time you sat down to study, fully determined to focus, to learn, to improve yourself, and yet, minutes later, your mind drifted, your energy dropped, and the information just refused to stick. It's frustrating, and for many people, it leads to a quiet belief that they are not smart enough or disciplined enough. But the truth is far more empowering. The problem is not you. The problem is that you were never taught how learning actually works. Your brain is not a machine that improves by force. It is a biological system that responds to attention, rhythm, rest, emotion, and physical state. When you align your habits with how the brain is designed to learn, studying stops feeling like a battle and starts feeling like momentum. The same hours produce better results, effort feels lighter, and progress becomes visible. In this video, you're not going to hear generic advice or motivational slogans. You're going to discover science-backed habits that high performers use to learn faster, remember longer, and stay focused without burning out. These are practical insights you can apply immediately, whether you're a student, a professional, or someone committed to personal growth. If you stay with this till the end, you'll understand why some people learn in half the time, why motivation suddenly disappears for others, and how small changes in your daily routine can completely transform the way your brain absorbs information. This is not about studying harder, it's about studying in alignment with your brain. And once you understand that, learning will never feel the same again. Focused attention is one of the most powerful yet misunderstood tools for learning. Many people believe that studying longer automatically leads to better results, but neuroscience shows that the brain does not measure effort in hours. It measures the quality of attention applied during those hours. When attention is fully directed toward a single task, the brain activates specific neural circuits responsible for encoding new information. These circuits strengthen through repeated, uninterrupted engagement, making learning faster and more durable. In contrast, divided attention weakens this process, causing information to be stored in a fragmented and unreliable way every time attention shifts from the study material to a phone notification, background conversation, or unrelated thought. The brain must disengage from one neural network and activate another. This constant switching consumes mental energy and reduces cognitive efficiency. Even brief distractions can significantly lower comprehension and retention because the brain does not instantly return to its previous depth of focus. Instead, it takes time to rebuild concentration, and during that recovery period, learning quality remains low. As a result, hours spent studying with frequent interruptions may produce far less progress than a shorter session of uninterrupted focus. Focused attention also increases neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to change and adapt. When attention is sustained, neurons that fire together repeatedly begin to wire together more strongly. This process creates stable neural pathways that allow information to be recalled more easily in the future. Without sustained focus, these pathways remain weak and inconsistent, leading to forgetfulness and confusion. Focused study essentially signals to the brain that the information being processed is important and worth preserving. Another critical aspect of focused attention is mental presence. When the mind is fully engaged, it actively organizes information, connects new ideas to existing knowledge, and identifies patterns. This deeper processing transforms surface-level memorization into genuine understanding. In contrast, passive or distracted study often leads to familiarity without mastery, where information feels recognizable but cannot be clearly explained or applied. Short, highly focused study periods are especially effective because the brain has a limited capacity for intense concentration. By working in distraction-free intervals, learners can maintain peak cognitive performance and avoid mental fatigue. This approach not only improves learning speed, but also reduces stress, as progress becomes more noticeable and efficient. Focused attention turns studying from a draining activity into a precise, high-impact process that respects how the brain naturally learns and adapts. The brain is not designed to maintain peak focus continuously for long stretches of time. Instead, it operates in natural cycles of heightened alertness followed by periods of reduced intensity. When studying aligns with these biological rhythms, learning becomes more efficient and sustainable. Intense focus for a limited duration allows the brain to fully engage the networks responsible for attention, comprehension, and memory formation. However, when this intensity is forced for too long without breaks, cognitive performance begins to decline, even if the learner feels they are still working hard. During concentrated study periods, neurons involved in processing information fire rapidly and repeatedly. This activity consumes significant amounts of energy and neurotransmitters. Without rest, these neural resources become depleted, leading to mental fatigue, reduced clarity, and slower thinking. At this stage, the brain may still appear active, but the quality of learning drops sharply. Errors increase, understanding becomes shallow, and retention weakens. Breaks are not a reward for studying, they are a necessary part of the learning mechanism itself. Short periods of deliberate rest allow the brain to recover and reorganize. During these pauses, Neural activity shifts away from focused processing and into modes that support consolidation and integration. The brain reviews recently learned material, strengthens important connections, and prunes irrelevant ones. This behind-the-scenes work is essential for turning new information into stable memory. Without these rest phases, learning remains fragile and easily forgotten. These cycles of effort and recovery also help maintain motivation and emotional balance. Knowing that focus is required only for a limited time reduces resistance and mental strain. The brain is more willing to engage deeply when it anticipates rest afterward. This structure prevents burnout and makes studying feel manageable rather than overwhelming. Over time, this approach builds consistency, which is far more valuable than occasional long study marathons. Spacing learning into cycles also improves long-term retention. Each return to focused study reactivates and strengthens neural pathways formed in previous sessions. This repeated activation across multiple cycles enhances recall and understanding more effectively than one prolonged session. By respecting the brain's natural rhythms of focus and rest, learning becomes not only faster, but also more resilient, efficient, and sustainable. Sleep plays a central role in learning because the brain does not complete the learning process while you are awake. Studying allows information to enter the brain, but sleep determines whether that information is stored, organized, and made accessible for future use. During sleep, especially deep sleep and rapid eye movement sleep, the brain engages in memory consolidation. Neural patterns formed during learning are replayed, strengthened, and integrated with existing knowledge. Without sufficient sleep, this process is disrupted, causing newly learned material to remain unstable and easily forgotten. While awake, the brain focuses on acquiring information and responding to the environment. This constant input limits its ability to reorganize memories effectively. Sleep provides a unique state in which external distractions are minimized, allowing the brain to shift its energy toward internal processing. During this time, important information is transferred from temporary storage in the hippocampus to more stable long-term storage across the cortex. This transfer is essential for transforming short-term learning into lasting understanding. Sleep also improves the brain's ability to recognize patterns and extract meaning from information. Rather than simply storing isolated facts, the sleeping brain connects ideas, identifies relationships, and builds broader mental frameworks. This is why concepts often feel clearer after a good night's sleep, even without additional study. Problem-solving, creativity, and insight all benefit from this overnight reorganization of neural connections. Lack of sleep not only weakens memory, but also reduces attention, emotional regulation, and motivation the following day. A tired brain struggles to focus, becomes more reactive to stress, and requires more effort to achieve the same level of performance. This creates a cycle where poor sleep leads to inefficient studying, which then encourages longer hours and even less sleep. Over time, this pattern significantly undermines learning efficiency and mental well-being. Consistent sleep schedules further enhance learning by stabilizing the brain's internal clock. When sleep occurs at regular times, the brain can more effectively anticipate periods of learning and consolidation. Quality sleep acts as a multiplier for effort, turning focused study into long-term knowledge and skills. Without sleep, even the best study strategies lose much of their power because the brain never completes the final and most important stage of learning. Active recall is one of the most effective ways to strengthen learning because it forces the brain to work in the same way it will be required to perform later. When information is actively retrieved from memory rather than passively reviewed, the brain must reconstruct neural pathways associated with that knowledge. This reconstruction process strengthens those pathways, making the information easier to access in the future. Unlike rereading or highlighting, which create a sense of familiarity, active recall builds true memory strength and understanding. When you test yourself, even if you struggle or make mistakes, the brain treats the effort as a powerful learning signal. The difficulty involved in recall activates multiple brain regions related to attention, problem-solving, and memory. Each attempt to retrieve information refines the neural connections involved, reinforcing what is correct and exposing gaps that need further work. This feedback loop allows the brain to adjust and improve, making learning more efficient over time. Active recall also prevents the illusion of learning. Passive study methods often feel productive because the information looks recognizable on the page. However, recognition is not the same as recall. During exams, presentations, or real-world application, the brain cannot rely on recognition cues. It must generate information independently. Active recall trains the brain for this exact demand, reducing anxiety and improving performance under pressure. Repeated retrieval over time further enhances long-term retention. Each successful recall strengthens memory traces and makes them more resistant to forgetting. Even unsuccessful attempts are valuable, as they prime the brain to absorb the correct information more effectively when it is reviewed afterward. This process turns mistakes into learning opportunities rather than failures. Active recall also encourages deeper understanding rather than surface memorization. When recalling information, the brain naturally seeks meaning, structure, and connections. Concepts become linked to broader ideas instead of remaining isolated facts. This makes knowledge more flexible and easier to apply in new situations. By consistently practicing active recall, learners shift from simply consuming information to actively shaping it within their minds, accelerating learning and create even stronger, more reliable memories. Motivation and learning are deeply connected through the brain's reward system, particularly the role of dopamine. Dopamine is not simply a chemical associated with pleasure, it is a signal that tells the brain something is worth paying attention to and repeating. When dopamine is released during learning, it increases focus, enhances memory formation, and makes the process feel more engaging. Without sufficient dopamine activation, even important tasks can feel exhausting and difficult to sustain. Curiosity, interest, and emotional involvement naturally raise dopamine levels. When a learner finds a topic meaningful or exciting, the brain becomes more alert and receptive. Information learned in this state is encoded more strongly because the brain tags it as valuable. This is why emotionally charged experiences are remembered more vividly than neutral ones. By creating interest and personal relevance in study material, the brain's chemistry shifts in favor of faster and deeper learning. Small rewards and a sense of progress also play a critical role. Each time a learner completes a task, understands a concept, or solves a problem, dopamine is released in response to achievement. These small wins build momentum and encourage continued effort. Breaking study sessions into manageable goals allows the brain to experience frequent success, keeping motivation high. Without these moments of progress, the brain may interpret the task as unrewarding and reduce effort. Emotions also influence how the brain prioritizes information. Positive emotions such as confidence and satisfaction enhance learning by broadening attention and increasing mental flexibility. Negative emotions like anxiety and frustration, when excessive, narrow attention and interfere with memory formation. Managing emotional state during study is therefore not optional. It directly affects how effectively the brain processes information. Dopamine-driven motivation is most effective when balanced. Excessive stimulation or external rewards can reduce intrinsic interest over time. Sustainable motivation comes from aligning learning with personal goals, curiosity, and a clear sense of purpose. When the brain associates learning with progress, meaning, and growth, dopamine supports consistent effort, sharper focus, and faster mastery of new skills. The brain does not operate in isolation from the body. It is directly influenced by physical state at every moment. Factors such as movement, light exposure, hydration, breathing, and overall physiological balance have a powerful impact on attention, memory, and learning capacity. When the body is optimized, the brain receives clearer signals, improved blood flow, and better energy regulation, all of which support efficient cognitive performance. Physical movement plays a key role in learning by increasing circulation and oxygen delivery to the brain. Even light activity stimulates the release of chemicals that enhance mood, focus, and neuroplasticity. Movement helps regulate stress hormones and prevents the mental stagnation that often occurs during prolonged sitting. As a result, learners who incorporate regular movement tend to maintain sharper attention and absorb information more effectively. Light exposure strongly influences alertness and mental clarity. Natural light, especially earlier in the day, helps regulate the body's internal clock and supports optimal levels of wakefulness. Proper light cues improve concentration and reduce mental fog, creating conditions in which learning feels easier and more natural. In contrast, poor lighting and irregular exposure can disrupt focus and lower cognitive energy. Hydration is another essential factor often overlooked. The brain is highly sensitive to changes in fluid balance, and even mild dehydration can impair attention, working memory, and processing speed. Adequate hydration ensures that neural signaling remains efficient and that mental fatigue is minimized. Similarly, controlled breathing helps regulate the nervous system. Slow, steady breathing calms stress responses, improves focus, and allows the brain to operate with greater precision. Posture and physical comfort also influence learning. Tension in the body can increase cognitive load and distract attention, while a relaxed but alert physical state supports sustained focus. When the body feels stable and supported, the brain can dedicate more resources to learning rather than managing discomfort. Optimizing physical state creates a foundation for mental performance, making learning smoother, faster, and more resilient under pressure. As we come to the end of this talk, one truth stands clear. Learning is not about pushing yourself beyond your limits. It is about working in harmony with how your brain is designed to grow. When attention is focused, when effort is balanced with rest, when sleep is protected, when recall is active, when motivation is guided by purpose, and when the body supports the mind, learning becomes faster, deeper, and more sustainable. These habits are not shortcuts, they are alignments. They turn confusion into clarity and effort into progress. The real power of these science-backed study habits is that they put control back in your hands. No matter where you are starting from, you can change how you learn by changing how you approach it. Small adjustments, practiced consistently, compound into extraordinary results over time. When you respect your brain rewards you with focus, memory, creativity, and confidence. Good luck on your learning journey. May every study session bring you closer to your goals, and may progress replace frustration. Thank you for your time, your attention, and your commitment to becoming better every day.